Welcome to the Rising Society podcast. I'm Shane Kennedy.
I'm Nico Galliano, the rejected gentleman.
And for the record, the lighting is really weird tonight.
I think the lighting looks fine, man. It looks nice.
Well, there's a massive shadow behind me, and we originally had it set up so it looked kind of like a spaceship, but it doesn't look like a spaceship anymore.
I don't want to blame anyone, but it's probably our lighting crew's fault. Just throwing that out there. It's you.
It's you.
It's you.
So why don't we get into talking about the Joe Biden? I guess you'd call them allegations, an investigation that Congress is starting. So my bet is this is going to result in the impeachment of Joe W. Biden or Joe Biden. Whatever, I don't even know what his middle name is.
Do you think? Okay, so yeah, let me ask you a question. So real quick, do you think that what they're basically, it's just lining up perfectly? Do you think, because right now Trump's been he got charged, right? But it wasn't like it's what do you call it? It was civil court, right? It wasn't actually like he didn't catch actual charges, right? That prohibit him from running, like a felony or anything like that.
Oh, a misdemeanor?
Yeah, like a misdemeanor or a felony.
Well, the charges in the case, the sexual assault allegations,
those haven't happened yet, though, right?
Well, they're going before a New York jury, which is like 90% Democrat, aka hate Donald Trump. So I think it will probably end up, convicting him and they're trying it as a felony, but it's really a misdemeanor. But it's it's all crooked. It's New York,
but
everything.
He's already gonna have to pay like $5 million or some bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So my point is okay. So that's gonna go through. We probably know how that's gonna play out, right? As much as people want to deny it. Do you think that they hit Biden at the same time, right? He gets charged, and then all of a sudden neither of these guys can run?
No.
You don't think it's going to play out that way?
The thing is, the Constitution doesn't prohibit anyone from running for president.
I thought if you had a felony, you can't run for president.
No, that's a made up rule. The only criteria to run for president is you need to be 35 years old or older.
Yeah, correct.
And born in the United States.
Yes.
Is
that it? I thought if you had a felony, you couldn't run.
No, that's a made up thing.
Oh shit. Never mind.
Yeah.
There goes my whole theory just blown right out of the water.
Well, the thing is, they keep talking about it as if it were in the Constitution, but none of these people have actually read the Constitution, and they really don't care about it at the end of the day, right?
Well, I actually knew all this. I just did that for people at home because I know that's a commonly misheldmisbelief. So you
just didn't want for them to feel alone.
Yeah,
right?
You guys are welcome.
So the House, the House committee that's going to be doing the investigation into Joe Biden, has said they're going to be investigating, I think, 9 or 10 members of the Biden family, including Joe Biden. And they said that the evidence that they're opening the case with, it's all these payments from foreign nationals to members of the Biden family.
Like, didn't his granddaughter, when she was like, how old's his granddaughter? I don't even remember.
I have no idea. But
she was receiving payments, even though, right?
like big payments from, I think, Ukrainians and from Romanians. Mm-hmm. And the interesting thing is, it seems like all roads lead to the Ukraine and out of the Ukraine for a lot of the corruption involving the Biden family. So it'll be really interesting to see how this manifests. Now, you know as well as I do, Nico, that if there were shady payments from foreign nationals going to members of the Trump family, that this would have been everywhere.
Oh,
the New York Times, the Washington Post, all the American newspapers, NPR, they would all be all over it. This is all that they'd be talking about all the time. But they're really not that interested in this. They're really not interested in corruption allegations that are being that had enough weight to open up an investigation by Congress. They're simply not interested in really digging deep into this and reporting on it with a megaphone the way that they would with Donald Trump.
Well, see, that's the problem, dude, right? Is like, even when, remember the Russian allegations, the
whole Russiagate hoax, it was a hoax.
Oh, yeah,
it was
absolutely.
a big hoax.
It was complete bullshit. And, dude, that's all you heard about, right? Literally, campaigns are ran off of that. Well, vice versa. Now you have this very similar situation. You have, foreign, like you said, it all has to do with like Ukraine, Russia, all this stuff. So Biden's over there. We actually are starting to come out with, they're trying to gather proof for these accusations, right? That they're being paid off. These family members are getting, basically, because it can't go through Biden, but there's no rule. Like, okay, so the president can't have like direct investments into stuff, right? They have to give all that up when they become president. Like, they have to sell stock. They have to sell their stocks, right? Holdings of companies, stuff like that, right? Technically. But there's literally zero rules to say immediate family members, right?
Right. And that's normally what they do.
Well, I mean, come on,
Yeah.
right? Absolutely.
It's just like for the Bush family, it was George W.'s brother. I think his name was Neil Bush. He was the one that received a lot of big payments from foreign nationals and stuff for the Bush family.
What were they, like consultants?
Oh, of course, yeah, consultants, and he was a board member. In fact, Neil Bush owned a security company.
Oh, yeah, coincidence.
And I'm sure he was a consultant and everything.
Yeah,
but he was the big money guy for the Bush family. And Joe Biden's brother, younger brother, he's kind of like the money guy for the Biden family, where a lot of the money, it runs through him, because obviously Joe's in public life, and it would look really bad if he were accepting direct payments from foreign nationals and foreign governments and foreign companies and stuff.
Dude, I just find it wild. So the only place where you're seeing this even a remote amount of interest would be Fox News, but no one watches that anymore, obviously.
Yeah,
because they lost their own fan base somehow.
Well, in fact, that's a good segue. Let's move on to start talking about Fox and Tucker Carlson.
Oh, actually, that is a good segue.
Because there are some really interesting things that broke today. Politico just reported that the real reason that Fox fired Tucker was it was required by the settlement with Dominion.
It was required by the settlement.
Well, that's what Politico reported.
Okay.
So
what are they citing?
They're citing an anonymous source, which is what everybody in mainstream media does now. They all
I hear you.
But so the thing is, Tucker Carlson's lawyers have just today started filing paperwork requesting different documents from the Fox legal team, because Tucker's getting ready to haul Fox News into court, because he's saying that they fired him without cause. So the fact that this is going to become a court case, all kinds of documents, text messages, and everything regarding Fox, the Dominion lawsuit, the settlement, and Tucker Carlson, a lot of that stuff is going to get blown out into the wide open that was previously kept confidential and secret. So we're standing on the precipice of learning a lot more about the details of the Dominion settlement with Fox. And we're also about to learn a lot more about why they actually fired Tucker Carlson. If it actually was because what reason did they give for firing him?
I believe it was, and I might be
Did they say he was a sexist or a racist or a?
It was basically like the ethics clause, right? He said stuff against like women. What was it? Trump's lawyer. And then there was a couple other things. He was basically slamming women. And they pulled, one of the interesting things, they pulled a recording. He was talking to his own staffers. And he was, being a little raunchy, right? But he's talking to staffers, and all his staffers are laughing. And they're like kind of like shooting the shit back and forth with each other. Very comfortable. Just doing, like, nowhere did it seem awkward or anything like that. Like, he was obviously joking. They were laughing and joking back, and they try to use that as like, that's his character. That's how he is, even with his own staffers. Like, when you're in the office and you can relax, you're talking to coworkers, stuff like that. Well, they use that, and they're like, this is how he is all the time. But they just took like a 30-second clip of him making a joke.
Except for when he's being recorded on camera.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
So that's the only time of the day that he's not that way, right?
Yeah, and we've talked about him. I lean more towards liking Tucker Carlson, but I like not because of his ideology or anything like that, just because he's one of the last few guys that just has a big pair of balls.
Yeah,
and he just doesn't care, man.
Well, and then he announced last night that he's going to start doing his show from Twitter.
Yes,
He's going to start live streaming on Twitter. Now, I think this could end up being the death nail of traditional cable news.
Well, yeah, let's think about it, man. I mean, if you're not a baby boomer, like we grew up and we did watch the news, I would say, because our age demographic, we were probably, what would be our first election of importance? Probably Bush.
2000, the Bush and Gore. Actually, well, and then for some of us, the Clinton Dole election, which I was aware of that election.
No, I know we were aware of it, but I'm talking like actually like not where a lot like could remember it. I'm talking actually where it affected you. Like you were like, oh, I'm actually starting to have opinions on politics.
Yeah, probably the year 2000,
right? Yeah. So you go into that. Like my first one was probably like 2008 is when I was like really hardcore into it the 2 years leading up to that because I was like 16, 17. You know what I mean?
And remember in 2000, the Democratic Party said that the election was stolen from them.
In 2011?
No, in the year 2000. Remember Al Gore?
Oh yeah, but no one cares about that.
Yeah,
no. Well, dude, be careful.
And the Republicans got away with it.
That gets you canceled right there.
No, that won't get you canceled.
Yeah, all right. No, let's see. Let's see, dude. They don't like.
But I think it'll be really interesting to see how many viewers Tucker ends up getting on Twitter. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be interesting to see who leaves the Twitter platform as a result of Tucker going there, and who migrates to it.
Well, I know it's a hot topic, so so it's trending, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if this correlates at all, but I know this for a fact. I don't have to source anything. I went on Twitter, and 15 hours after the video was posted, I know for a fact that it had 18.2 million views.
It did.
So I don't know. I haven't looked at it again since then. But it's going to be interesting because I want to see, like we were just talking, and I kind of didn't answer your question. I want to see if our generation, right? Because a lot of people are like, well, they don't care about Tucker Carlson. They're not gonna. That's not true. I actually know a lot of people under the age of 35 that actually like Tucker Carlson a lot, right? They think it's all like, like our parents' age and stuff like that are watching him. But I'm not sure that that's necessarily true. And now that it's going to be interesting seeing, will a social media platform be able to draw him over? I don't know. It's going to be interesting, right? Joe Rogan's doing it with podcasting. Yeah, it's working, right? We know the podcast number statistics. I want to see if a social media platform can bring over like that and how they're going to like lay it out. That's what how are they going to implement this? Is it just going to be him basically doing what we're doing right now? Looking at,
well, and that's the interesting thing is traditionally Twitter is not known for video clips or for streaming. That's
long form content is not its specialty.
Yeah. Traditionally, that's not what Twitter's known for. But if Tucker's the beginning of long-term and even short-term video content coming to Twitter, this is going to be a new. This is going to be an interesting development in the media landscape, and Elon Musk tweeted, I think this morning or last night, he said that he welcomes Tucker Carlson to the Twitter platform, and he said that he would love to see people of the left come to the Twitter platform and stream their long and short form content, video.
Yeah.
So that as many voices as possible can be heard
representation from all point of views, right? Like it should be. They did ask point blank. They asked Elon. They said, "Hey, bud."
They said, "Bud."
Yeah,
they said, "Bud."
Hey, buddy.
Said, hey, bud. Hey, buddy.
Hey, bud.
Hey, buddy, bud.
They're like, "Look, man, is he going to be held to the same community standards as everyone else?" With this, with this video format that he's coming out with. And he directly said he will be held to the exact same community standards as any other content creator on the platform. So, because I heard people saying that this is going to be like, basically, he's just going to go out and trash all the stuff, and he's going to be able to do whatever he wants. He's going to run the mill kind of thing. Elon Musk said that's absolutely not true. But he does. He welcomes everybody onto the platform. I'm really interested to see what Elon Musk does with Twitter, because so far the only thing people can really bitch about is that he gave full transparency into how corrupt it was, and he charged you for a blue check because you're all very conceited.
You want to know what my favorite thing about this, about all of this, about the Tucker getting removed from Fox News and everything is? Remember how the weekend before Tucker was canceled from Fox News on a Monday, and that Sunday, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she was interviewed on, I think it was 60 Minutes by, I think, Leslie Stahl. And AOC was calling for Tucker to be canceled from Fox News that weekend. Then he ended up being canceled on Monday, and AOC said that we needed to silence voices like Tucker's. And the thing that I think is amazing is Tucker's been kiboshed, silenced from Fox, but like that video that you talked about that Tucker put out last night, how it got 18.2 million views. Well, on average, he would get like 3 million. Like 3 million views on Fox News.
Yep.
So to people like AOC, be careful what you wish for, because she got what she wished for. He's off of Fox, but I think his influence is going to grow.
Of course it is.
And remember, I brought up the Streisand effect. And I think that's going to be a play here, where when you try to silence and cancel something, you draw attention to it, and by drawing attention to it, it becomes a bigger thing and a more well-known thing than it otherwise would.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, I agree 100%, dude. That's wild.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens with Tucker, see what happens with Twitter, and really to see what ends up happening with the type of content that's on the 24-hour cable news channels, to see where that ends up going. Because you're right, the main demographic that the 24-hour cable news channels is really there to serve, it's baby boomers. They're not the target demographic that advertisers want to advertise to, and baby boomers they're not young. They're getting older, and the world is changing in terms of that. It's not the 1970s and 80s anymore. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that content that would traditionally be on those cable news channels, where it ends up going. And I think Twitter very well may be one of the venues that stuff migrates to.
Well, the thing is I think so. What people like is they like concentrated content, right? Like when you go on to YouTube, you usually don't just go onto it to just randomly surf. You go onto it very specifically to look up something.
Like the Rising Society podcast.
Like us, nice plug. That was nice. And then you end up surfing, right? You ride the wave, because once you're on it, it's almost like a drug, right? You're there. So what I think is going to happen is I think TV is going to die off like it has been, right? Because we have our content. Like, you go onto Netflix and you're like, I need to watch something. But you went to that platform. Well, what I think is going to happen is I think these things, just like they're all apps now. Like, I don't even have regular cable. I just have my apps. I think Twitter's just going to be down there as like a little option. And I think if you click on it, it's just going to be all the... this isn't how I should phrase it. All the video streamers, right? They're just going to be on there. And then you go pick yours. You know what I mean? You're going to have, like we come on every Wednesday, right? So Tucker, and I'm just picking this out of the air. Tucker's going to be Tuesdays or Monday through Friday.
Might be every night, yeah.
Yeah, Monday through Friday at 7:30, Tucker's on, right? And I think it's going to be the same thing. So I really think it's probably going to be presented very similar. And I think people will put it on their TVs. Like, you'll go to your little Twitter app, little blue bird, click on them, and then you just pull up the video content.
Yeah.
And I think people will watch it on their TVs. Now, of course, it's going to be consumed on here like crazy, but I don't think much will change that way.
Well, I'd be very surprised if within the next year a Roku app is not developed for Twitter.
Of course.
And then you're able to access that on your TV the way that you can Netflix. And another thing that Elon Musk has said in the past that he wants to do with Twitter is he wants to make it like the Chinese app WeChat. And
I'm not familiar.
So in China, and also too in a lot of other countries around the world that are very heavily influenced by China, if you want to send someone money, or if you want, or if someone owes you money and you want to receive it from them, and you guys don't have cash, it works the same way that Venmo does.
It's called WeChat.
Yeah, it's called WeChat. And also too in WeChat, they also use it the way that we use text messaging or like Facebook Messenger. It's kind of the same thing. And Elon Musk has talked about wanting to add a service like that to Twitter.
Well, like a one-stop shop
Too, yeah.
So you use it for
So you're using it to catch your news. You might also be using it
communication.
Yeah, for communication, but you might also be using it to send and receive money from friends and stuff, just like Venmo.
Well, yeah.
And then you might also end up using it. You might download it onto your Roku or onto your smart TV,
and
you might consume media through it.
Dude, that's interesting. Yeah, if he can do that, because I know that's
Elon, talk to us.
Yeah, Elon.
You know,
I got ideas.
Yeah.
Just right here, buy this podcast from us.
Yeah, yeah. You've got a million ideas, and I've got a million and one.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So, all right, tomorrow, Title 42 expires, which is the COVID era federal law that allows, or that requires the border to be secure. That basically that makes it more difficult for people to just cross the border illegally. That's expiring tomorrow.
Oh, it's difficult?
Yeah.
For people to cross.
Well, so think about, so Nico, I want for you to think about how difficult it is right now for illegals to cross over the border. How much, just how difficult it is. How many hurdles they have to jump and everything, like maybe 2 or something. They just hop one, or just step over one, step over the other, and then bam, they're an American.
Yeah.
Well, now those hurdles are about to be removed by the Biden administration. And so tomorrow it could end up being nothing, or it could end up being like hundreds of thousands of people pouring across the border. And so there are reporters, and of course CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, none of them are interested in any of this. I've done a little bit of reading about it. There's an area down in Panama called the Darien Gap, and that is where people that are migrating north from South America, that's what they travel through.
That makes sense.
They're coming from Venezuela, they're coming from Colombia, they're coming from Bolivia, they're coming from
Guatemala.
Yeah, Brazil and stuff. Yeah. Well, actually, a lot of people are saying that most of everyone that's going to come here from places like El Salvador and Guatemala have already come.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those countries are pretty much tapped out. So many of them have come here.
You figure they would come over and then just go up, right?
Well, that's what they did. But they've all made it. They're all here.
Oh, just mission accomplished.
Yeah. So now we're looking at a lot of migration from the northern part of South America. The problem is that disproportionately, it's a lot of gang members that are coming here. And it's a lot of young men that are gang members that are coming here, like from MS-13 and from a lot of those other gangs that are down in Mexico and Central America. The drug runners and everything. And those gangs are making a lot of money off of trafficking people into the United States. And so there's a line of thinking, and I subscribe to this, that the border, if the border ends up becoming a shit show, which it very well could, we could be looking at the equivalent of like a ground war, where the federal government will have to send either troops, federal marshals, or a combination, maybe National Guard or something down there to go and fight these cartels, because the cartels, they not only make money off of trafficking drugs and fentanyl and stuff into the United States, but they're making much more money off of, they call them coyotes.
Yep.
They make a lot more money off of trafficking human beings into the United States, sex trafficking people and everything. The federal government's turned a blind eye. They're really not interested, but things may end up getting so bad because Title 42 is expiring tomorrow. And there are a lot of people right now that are very near to the border and ready to come right over because the messaging that's getting down to the people in the Darien Gap, that's getting to the people in Central and South America is it's time to come. Title 42 is expiring on May the 11th, and it's time to come. The American border will be completely wide open. And so a lot of these people, they've paid a lot of money to these cartels, and these cartels are getting them up here. A lot of women are being sexually assaulted. There's a lot of bad stuff happening. And a lot of it's because our government is not doing anything to punish the people that are doing the trafficking. And it's not just drugs, it's also trafficking people. You know, this actually, so I think we could end up seeing like a light ground war breakout.
So wait, are you advocating that American troops should be sent into the Central and South American point?
To me, in my mind, and this is something I caught a lot of flack from people back during the Bush years because I stand by this that our borders, that's the front line. Back then they called it the war on terror, but that's the front line as far as keeping America safe. Is securing our borders. You know, and the thing is, I'm not concerned about families coming here. If you're a family, or if you're people that are legitimately escaping from being persecuted, and America is the closest safe country for you to come to, which is not the case for these people in South America and Central America. Mexico is their nearest safe country to go to seek asylum. The problem is this is largely not families that we're talking about that are coming here in droves. A lot of the people that are coming here, they're gang members, MS-13 and everything. The thing I'm concerned about is a lot of these people, they're going to be many of these people are going to be the equivalent of terrorists, and they may come here and start doing mass shootings in Texas and stuff. And the thing is, these are gangs trafficking humans and drugs into the United States. Now, let's think about fentanyl. Where does a lot of the fentanyl originate?
Where?
China. Now, China would have a vested interest in keeping the American border open. What would stop China from trafficking weapons and stuff to these cartels, which already have, these cartels have their own militaries? What would stop the Chinese and the Russians from supporting the cartels in a proxy, them fighting a war against U.S. ground troops in a proxy war on the southern border? Nothing. In fact, it would be advantageous for the Chinese and for the Russians.
What? Well, I guess my point is okay. So let's say they're pushing up these gang members up through. They get here. I don't necessarily think that they're going to be mass shootings. That's not even cost beneficial or make sense to. They're putting them here so they have people to actually sell the drugs and carry out their turf wars, right?
But the mass shootings are there. It's terrorism. I think there will be mass shootings to send a clear message to the people that live near the border, and to send a clear message to the people specifically in Texas.
So like Brownsville, Texas.
Yeah. Well, remember there was that shooting. Was it in Dallas? I think it was on Sunday, and the guy had all these tattoos, and the way that the way that the mainstream press, the corporate press, spun the story was that this guy was a white supremacist. Well, this guy was not a white supremacist in the sense that he was like a wild psycho white nationalist or something. What this guy was a Mexican cartel gang member.
Ah, really?
He had all these satanic and fascist tattoos tattooed all over his body. And he conducted, I can't remember the name of the city that he conducted the shooting in, but I think we're going to end up seeing a lot more of that. And I think it's going to be about spreading one thing, about spreading terror throughout these border states to send the clear message to them. Look, if you want to do something to lock this border down, don't do it, because you're going to get a lot more mass shootings.
I guess you're right. I guess I'm trying to run it like it's a legitimate business. I guess they can use fear and pain and misery.
Well, remember
to inflict it because basically it's a war for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way to drive business up, like you said, hey, you resist us, these are the consequences.
Right.
We're here to stay. We're the new big swinging Johnson.
Yeah, because what they're going to do is they're going to battle as hard as they can to keep their ability to traffic drugs and people into the United States. Mm-hmm. You know, and they operate when we say the word cartel, it makes us think about a bunch of hoodlums that are just like that are like pickpocketing people or something. That's not what we're dealing with here. These are militias, and some of these drug cartels in Mexico, they have their own navies.
Well, that's the crazy thing is most of them are backed by huge, like they consider it like, well, I hate to use the term, but they're like businessmen. They're actually like, they have tons of wealth that they've accumulated. Yeah. They buy, just acres and acres of land. They make compounds. They, like I said, they do put their money into legitimate businesses. They start buying police and political figures. Like these guys, they are going to war.
It's why Mexico was such a mess.
Yeah, Colombia in the 80s, like all of that, all these things, right? And I guess you always had that.
Well, and this is another problem in particular with those cartels down there. We talked last week about ghosts and spiritual warfare and stuff. These cartels and stuff, they're all into the occult, straight up. Mm-hmm. They're satanic and they do satanic ritual killings. I think it was last year. One of these cartels, they beheaded a guy in Arizona in a satanic ritual sacrifice.
Jesus.
And that's the type of stuff they're doing down in Mexico. This is another thing that I have read is about exorcists in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of these exorcists in Mexico will say that the demons that they're exorcising in Mexico are telling them is that they are the demons these demons are the gods that the Aztecs would sacrifice human beings to, and that what they're doing through these cartels is they're desecrating human beings and butchering them the same way that they did before the Spanish came to Mexico.
Wow.
That they're back at it. Mm-hmm. And so the thing is, somebody can accept or reject what's happening, the spiritual component of all this.
Is that what you believe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think that there is an economic motivation for everything. You can boil it down to that, but I don't think in most cases, especially cases like this, I don't think you can just boil it straight. I don't think you can boil it down to economics as being the
driving core factor,
the most basic, most distilled motivating factor for this kind of behavior. Because the thing is, why would you create a vast human trafficking, rape, drug, and murder network? There are other and bigger ways to make money. You don't have to extinguish human lives.
Wait, no, I agree with you 100%. Not ethically, but you think that financially there's bigger ways to make money than drugs, prostitution, and gun running?
Well, I don't think that you have to murder people and desecrate people and assault people in doing it. I don't think that's at least on the grand scale that's going on down in Mexico and Central America.
Dude, that's a tale as old as time.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is, and that's the reason I'm saying this type of behavior, the motivation at its core is not purely economic. I think when you remove the veil of the economics, which is clearly there, like you can clearly see it, like, they're into all this stuff. I think initially what gets them into all this stuff are the margins involved, are the margins in slave trading, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, and everything. But then, why do they all get into all this occult stuff? Why do they all get into beheading people for human sacrifices and everything? And the thing is, they're even doing it when no one's watching. It's not like they're just doing it for show. This is stuff that these cartel leaders, they legitimately believe that they're serving demonic beings.
That's an interesting perspective, man. I guess even if it is a tale as old as time, like you just said, these exorcists are saying that these were the demons that were portraying themselves as Aztec, deities, right, or gods at the time. So yeah, I mean that would repeat throughout history. It makes sense. Every civilization goes into like these, like you said, these rituals where they're sacrificing their population. They get into moral decay. They start focusing on like weird stuff in society that was always had clear definitions. That's now completely thrown up in the air, and it's like chaos. And then they crumble, right? I mean, that's always the point. Huh? It's interesting. No, good point, man. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as geopolitics go down there, though, I think we're looking at the ingredients for a potential proxy war that will be fought between the United States and Russia/China, and it'll be the cartels that will be fighting directly. But we'll be fighting the Russians and Chinese indirectly, and it's all a result of our saber rattling around the world, of our saber rattling in Ukraine. We torpedoed the peace talks. We sent Boris Johnson over a year ago to torpedo the peace talks to put an end to them, and we're not allowing Zelensky to pursue peace. I don't even know if Zelensky's interested in peace. And then we keep on saber rattling China over Taiwan. And so I think strategically, the Russians and Chinese are probably looking at the United States and they're trying to figure out, well, what's the weakest link close to them?
They can just implement the strategies we used in the Middle East for the longest time, or that we used in Vietnam or Korea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
why wouldn't they fund them to come over here?
Yeah. And you see
mix shit up.
And that's the thing I'm concerned about. And this is the thing a lot of people don't realize. If you go and look at the reporting coming out of the Darien Gap, which is where a lot of these illegal migrants are coming from, you're not only dealing with people from the northern part of South America, you're not only dealing with people from Central America, you're not only dealing with Caribbean people that are coming here, but you're dealing with Chinese nationals. You're dealing with Russians. You're dealing with people from the Eastern Bloc, from the old Eastern Bloc countries. You're dealing with people from all over the world that are coming there. You're dealing with people that are coming there from the Middle East, Iranians and everything. And again, I'm not saying that those are bad people. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there are probably some of them that are trying to come here because they're trying to come to what they believe is a better place. Mm-hmm. But I think among those people, there are probably nefarious actors that are mixing themselves among the sheep.
Mm-hmm, of course.
So that they can come here and cause trouble. And I think the way that their governments might be looking at it, and of course this is all speculation, the way that their governments might be looking at it is, hey, America is causing us trouble in Ukraine. They keep on they keep smuggling a bunch of weapons in there. And then the Chinese are looking at Taiwan and they're like, look, the Americans are causing us a bunch of trouble in Taiwan. They won't stop smuggling weapons in there. So I think for them, what they're looking at is, well, these two places are right on our borders. So let's go and we see an opportunity here. Let's go and start a proxy war with the Americans on their border. And that's what I'm concerned about. That's the biggest thing I'm concerned about.
So what should America's answer right now if you're advising Joe Biden, or hell, you're the president right now, let's say?
Oh, okay. Well, I would tell Joe Biden to retire.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's say you're president then, okay? What do you think are the logical steps that America should take in this? Because at the end of the day, we can say the problem, the problems all day long. What is the solution? What is the antidote?
Well, first of all, secure the border.
Okay.
Yeah, because to me, nothing else matters unless the border's secure.
Are you saying all our personal border? Or are you saying that you want to go down to where the Panama meets South America?
Well, that. In my mind, that is a downstream problem. If our border was not open and these cartels and everything could not as easily smuggle drugs, weapons, and people into the United States, then all that Darien Gap stuff, it would start to dry up because the economic incentive, it would be restricted or it wouldn't be there. You know, so I think first and foremost we need to secure the border, figure out how to do it. Is it a wall? I don't know. Maybe build a wall, station troops down there, do whatever we need to do. And it's a humanitarian crisis. There are a lot of starving people that are up there at that are approaching that border. There are a lot of people. There are a lot of women that have been sexually assaulted. There are a lot of people that are in a very, very bad way there, and we need to figure out how to clothe them and feed them, and get them set up. Now the question would be, where do we send them? Do we send them back home? Do we house them there? That I don't know. But the only thing I can speak to is we have a lot of immediate issues right there on that border, and I think it all begins with securing it. Because once we secure it, then we can start dictating terms, and we can start saying, okay, we're going to set up a field hospital here, and we're going to set up temporary housing here, and we're going to set up some means to get people back to where they belong. We'll allow people to start applying for residency and for citizenship and stuff from there. They can apply. They can apply for asylum. I know one of the biggest things that the Trump administration did was they required people to apply for asylum in their home country. You know, and then that all disappeared whenever Joe Biden became president. So you have all these people claiming that they're coming to America so they can apply for asylum here, and it doesn't work. You know, even if you see, the problem is that Mexico is the nearest. I forget what the name for it is, but the closest safe country to the northern part of South America and into the Central American countries. So if they're seeking asylum, political asylum, religious asylum, whatever, then Mexico would be the closest country for a lot of these people to go to. They could also go to Panama, Costa Rica, and
I was going to say,
like
what's wrong in Panama?
Right? Yeah, they could go to all those places, but they're just using that as an excuse in a lot of cases to try to come here. And what they should be doing is what we should do is secure the border and then tell them, if you want to seek asylum in the United States, go to the embassy and fill out the paperwork, or go in the embassy and use the kiosk.
I mean, dude, it's a rough one, right? Because like if we have the resources to send as much to Ukraine as we have, and we don't, I understand that financially, why wouldn't we just take that money and invest it in our own border, right?
Yeah.
Like, why are we even messing around with the Ukraine-Russia thing? Let Europe handle that.
Well, and you know,
let's
Nico,
get our own border.
Well, and you know, Nico, at the very least, this is something that I think Democrats and Republicans both should be able to come together on: is let's secure the border. If we need to deploy 100,000 troops down there to secure the border, then we'll do that. But then it'll be up to the government to determine how loosey-goosey are we going to be with letting people in. If they want to let everybody, if they want to let anybody and everybody in that wants to come into the United States, that's a policy decision. If the executive branch doesn't want to enforce the law, then they're just going to choose not to enforce the law. But at least we'll be in control of the situation down there.
That's what I'm saying.
And it won't be the cartels dictating the situation.
Allocate those funds that we're just wasting on all these places, put it on the border,
Yeah.
And then that will free up funds for, at least, like you said, we could dictate it. We can have field hospitals down there so these people are getting medical attention. We can send food, water. We can have, at least some semblance of order down there with, if it's military, if that's what we're putting down there. I'm not saying build a wall and keep everyone out, but like you said, let's at least dictate the terms. Who are we letting in? Is it everyone? Is it no one? Is it, whatever? Are these people at least going, to where, okay, maybe you can't just have an influx of all these people just right in Texas. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a program where they get dispersed among different states. You know what I mean? Because that's a big thing, right? A lot of those states don't, especially like northern, they don't give a shit. That's not where people are going. So it's not going to be any kind of burden on that state's
and then they have a conniption.
Social safety nets.
Yeah, and then they have a conniption whenever the border states bus illegals up there. Like the mayor of New York City. He's pitching a fit because all these illegals are getting bussed up there by Texas and Florida. Mm-hmm. You know, well then
that's hilarious. I'm sorry. Yeah, I still think it's the funniest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah, well then don't support the open border. And this is another thing too. Ethically speaking, you know, or I guess objectively, New York City has better social services than Texas does.
Exactly.
So there's a pretty good argument to be made that it's better for these illegals to be bussed up there so that they'll have access to more social services. And they don't want to be in Texas. They want to go to New York City and places.
Yeah, of course they do. Like you said, the social services.
Yeah, they don't want to stay down there in that hot desert.
No, they just left a hot desert. Yeah, no. That's wild, man.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot to this whole border thing. It's getting very little coverage in the corporate press, you know, of course.
Well, you think Fox would be all over that, right? Because that was they ran that story for a while. That was like their big run to about what is it, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah, Fox is into it, but they're, you know, I think Fox is so preoccupied with their Dominion lawsuit, and they're about to get taken out to the shed by Tucker Carlson. You know,
he's suing them.
Yeah, he's going to be suing them.
Did we already mention that?
Yeah, we did.
We did. Okay, yeah. Dude, that's going to be wild because you know he's going to take them to the cleaners.
Well, and you know, I think, you know, at the end of the day, I think with this whole border thing, I don't think you can truly understand it through just the basic means of economics, and I think it's the same thing with a lot of other what we'd call like issues in the country. I think you have to look at the spiritual component of it. And look, if you're purely a materialist and the only lens by which you can understand reality from is the economic lens, then fine. But you're missing out on a major dimension of reality. Mm-hmm. You know? And you're very much just going to be a pawn in the spiritual game that's being played here.
And see, that's the big thing is mainstream media is never going to present it the way like our podcast is going to, right? Mm-hmm. That's why we give that perspective. Because like you said, it's a huge factor into it, but it's not being calculated when everyone's counting their pennies. No one's taking that aspect on it. They're all looking at it like from the economical standpoint or the moral standpoint of, okay, well, and then they try to turn it on you. So real quick, so I was about to say the moral standpoint of like, well, these people are trying to escape all these, you know, this harshness of life and come up here and have the same opportunity as all Americans do, right? The pursuit of happiness. To be able to, you know, eat and have clothing and roof, right? And they're like, if you're truly a Christian, we should be letting these people in, right? I mean, the Statue of Liberty said, well, give me your hungry or whatever. What does it say?
Oh, yeah, give me your hungry, your downtrodden. I forget
like when the Irish and the Italians came over, right, and all that stuff. The difference is because a lot of people I've heard point, they'll be like, well, when the Irish and the Italians came over, they also brought over... You know, they brought over a lot of their gangs and a lot of their stuff. Like Ireland, what's the movie? Gangs of New York. You've seen it?
Yep.
Right? You got the Five Boroughs. You got all these little gangs. And then, of course, you know, the very fictional mafia, right? That whole thing never actually happened.
I just call them Italians.
Oh, okay. See,
dude,
see what I'm saying?
Dude, because listen, the Italians are always... It's always shady deals. They're always trafficking stuff.
So you could point to where like every culture did this, right? And that literally shaped a whole crime spree through the 20s, 30s, and 40s. Mm-hmm. That was very prominent. Like it changed a lot. So I mean, what is your answer to that when people try to like throw it back on you? Like, well, if you're Christian, and like we never said these people shouldn't be here. That wasn't our argument,
right? So what my question would be first. Is it possible to start doing good if you're still doing evil? And so what I would say is first and foremost, we're facilitating human trafficking and drug trafficking into the country. We're complicit because we haven't secured the border and we're not in control of the border. So in my mind, we can't even begin to have the conversation about going out and doing good until we stop doing evil.
Yeah, I concur with that.
You know, and it's the same thing like with foreign policy. You know, I'm not really interested in hearing people's opinions about what what good action America should go and do here or go and do there in the world, while we are still occupying oil fields in Syria we have no business occupying, while we're dropping bombs in Sudan, Yemen, and not Yemen, Sudan, and I think Ethiopia. And we're facilitating. We're facilitating. We're the biggest cheerleaders for continuing the bloodshed in the Ukraine. In the sense, it's obviously the Russians that are invading, but we do not want a peace settlement. We don't want diplomacy.
No, absolutely not.
We want to fight.
Acceptable.
We want to fight that baby till the
last Ukrainian.
That's right.
That's right. Love it.
So the thing is, I'm not interested in hearing people saying, well, we should go out and do, we have a responsibility to go out and do this good. And we have a responsibility to go out and do this good. Well, I don't want to hear about responsibilities to do something until you're willing to have a serious conversation and start putting action behind ceasing to do evil.
Well, yeah, it's that old adage, right? It was like the hypocrites. Like I was just making the comparison that people, because we have these debates a lot, right? Well, I should say these very amicable debates with different people, and we'll talk about that stuff, and they'll try to spin it on you. It's one of the old classic strategies, right? And they're like, oh, but you believe this, but you do this, right? We're turning it back on them with this exact thing. If you're, like through prohibition, for instance, right, is where I'm going with this. They were like, oh, we got to get red liquor. But all the elites were drinking liquor. You know what I mean? They had those super wealthy establishments that they went to, and they were consuming alcohol in droves, right? It was just certain people weren't allowed to have it. And that's what I love on modern society. So, like you said, they want this Ukrainian thing so bad. Like we're not gonna do that. But as soon as like we're funneling weapons in there, we're doing all this stuff, and we're taking it from like a good standpoint. But we will go to, let's say, is it Yemen where is that where they're coming down? They're just like massacring them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the Saudis.
I'm sorry, I was Chinese. Wow, I'm off today.
But there may end up being a ceasefire because the Saudis have made peace with the Iranians.
True. But isn't it us funneling like tons and tons of weapons in
Big
there?
Time.
So that's my point. Like we'll point to like one good deed, right? But if someone else was doing that on a world stage and we had a problem with it like we have in the past, we will go and shut that shit down so fast.
Well, and this is the thing with those people it's funny because these people will always speak in moral certainties when the way that they view the world is that the world, there's no spiritual component to the world because they say it's outdated or whatever.
It's make believe.
And they say that the world is just a bunch of atoms in motion. And all that
just bumping into each other.
And all that human beings we're just an amalgamation of atoms that are all formed into monkey meat sacks.
That's it.
And that they're at the end of the day for them, it's all just a social construct. And the thing the question I always ask, but I never get an answer is, what right do you have to impose whatever moral opinion you have about the world upon someone else? What gives you that right? If we're all just a bunch of atoms in motion, but you're a meat sack, I'm a meat sack, the preborn baby in the womb, that's just a meat sack too. There's no real room for morality in that way of viewing the world, and so I think the problem is that those people, they don't have any way to cling to any objective sense of what is right and what is wrong. That's why it's constantly shifting. I mean, you look at today, the mainstream American sense of what is right and wrong, it's radically different from what it was 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll venture to guess, as this country becomes less Christian, 10 years from now, it'll be radically different from what it is now. And 10 years from now, it's going to be, probably intercourse with animals, between humans and animals. That'll probably be normal.
Well, I mean, if you do look at it from a certain perspective, if you don't have the beliefs that you do, that it's just a master of criminals coming up, infiltrating their way up, and that the most of these are, actual people seeking asylum and stuff like that and want a better life in America. Most of those countries are predominantly Christian, right? I mean, the overwhelming majority of them are. No?
No.
But
No, we're talking about places like Venezuela and Colombia, and places like Mexico. I mean, those countries have been messes for a very, very long time.
isn't Catholicism the biggest religion in all those countries?
Well, especially not Mexico, Nico. Mexico, Catholics were being butchered there as late as the 1920s.
What's the largest religion in those countries?
I think on the books it's Catholicism.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But the thing is, Catholicism, or just Christianity in general, it was thoroughly rooted out of the culture of those countries. Like for instance, I think it was illegal in Mexico to be. I think they made the Catholic Church illegal in Mexico for like the first 2 decades of the 20th century.
Is that
Something
true?
Like that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it was really, really bad down there in Central America. Really bad.
Dude, I can honestly say this. Every single person I know that I play soccer with that questionably is not an American citizen. I don't know how to phrase that. They're all Catholic.
Well, this is the thing. With that being said, persecution makes the church grow.
Yeah, I'm talking like 40, 50 people.
But the thing is, just remember something. At least the leadership of those countries, it's very, very rare to ever have a leader of one of those countries be a Christian.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like
the current president of Mexico, and you can look this up. He practices witchcraft.
Yeah.
He did a Wiccan ceremony on live on Mexican TV like last year.
Well, I know the Catholics in Mexico. Some of them they have like
Santeria.
Santeria. There's like it's like kind of like I don't want like witchcraft, but I guess
it's like a perverted. It's a perversion.
Yeah, it's like a perversion of it, but like. I don't know, man. If it's truly those countries are just like you said, they've lost their Catholic faith, right? Because on the books, I am pretty sure if we look it up, Catholicism is the biggest religion.
But I guess
wouldn't those be the people that would be trying to lead these countries because they are being persecuted in those countries?
A lot of them.
And wouldn't you want them to come here and spread their Christian?
But this is the problem. A lot of the people that are coming here, like a large plurality. Mm-hmm. Are these single young men that are violent gang members, and you see, it's like I said before, it's that demographic of people that are pouring into the country that I have a problem with. I don't want MS-13 gang members that have a tattoo of Baphomet on their back or something. I don't want them coming into this country.
Is that the large majority? Like, how do we know that?
It's not the majority. It's a large faction. And the problem is that they're a part of the trafficking, mm-hmm. and then when they get to the border, they're coming into the country, and many of them even are using like bait, like they'll kidnap kids, and they'll say that this is my daughter, let us in.
See, yeah, and that's what, in that back to our earlier point, that's why we got to kind of rein it in. I guess my question is wouldn't we, let's say we're at the point where we shut that down and we still have a mass drove of people. Okay, so they're coming up to the, let's call it like the buffer, right? Mm-hmm. We got border shut down. They're at that buffer. What do we do with those people? So let's say that we weed them out. We get all the MSers. So now we got this plethora of people down there that are, let's say, Catholics and all that stuff. Do we just let them in the country?
Well, what I would say is this. If they're an MS-13 gang member, mm-hmm. send them to Guantanamo Bay.
All right. Okay.
And then we can sort them out from there. Figure out what to do with them from there. But if they're people that are being trafficked, mm-hmm. or if they're families that are legitimately trying to get into the country, then we can figure out what to do. We can figure out from there what to do. That would be a decision for lawmakers to make. But in the meantime, what we could do is clothe them and see to their immediate needs. And then from there, if we're returning them back home, then we're returning them back home. If it's we give them some special status to come into the country, we give them a special status. But at least at that point, we're in control of the situation.
I swear to God, sometimes I think you're a politician. I'm not going to get an answer out of you, am I, on that?
Well, it's because I stand by what I keep on saying is what we need to do is we need to have control of the situation first.
Yeah. Because let's say we got control.
But this is the thing. That is going to be a feat in and of itself. And anything else is just pissing into the wind.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is we need to have a system set up so that we can figure out who the malicious actors are.
Okay.
These gang members and everything, which it won't be hard. Just look at what tattoos they have. Because they put like satanic tattoos and all kinds of stuff on them.
Yeah.
Send them to Gitmo. Just
get them out of here.
Yeah, send them there, and then we can figure out what to do with them from there.
Just shelf it, and we'll think about it later.
Yeah, because we would have pressing concerns at the moment. We're going to be dealing with rape victims on the border. We're going to be dealing with kids that are being trafficked, and we're also going to be dealing with seizing a whole bunch of drugs that are being smuggled into the country. So we're going to have a lot of stuff to deal with. It's not just going to be, it's a multifaceted thing, and what we're going to have to do is determine at the policy level what to do with the people who are there once we get them to the point where they can be sent somewhere. I mean, until we can figure out what to do, I do think we would have a responsibility to feed them, clothe them, and to give them like basic medical care to make sure if they have an infection that they can be treated, whatever.
Well, okay, so I guess my proposal on this would be, just to sum it up, I'll take a stance on it.
Oh, and offering them abortion as a medical service, that's off the table.
That's off the table. Yeah. Okay, well, hey, there's an actual stance. I like that, okay? So I guess my thing is if we're going to make this a humanitarian effort...
Don't say you're going to go Rambo.
But no, I'm not going to Rambo people. If we're going to make this a true humanitarian effort, I think that it's only responsible that we get with Mexico and Canada, both as, they would be safe haven countries, and we get with all of our Central America.
Why would we get with Canada?
Whoa, listen, I got you.
Dude, Trudeau's a thug.
Whoa, listen.
And that country is encouraging crazy people to commit suicide.
Yeah, I get
Let's just deal directly. Well, actually, I don't want to deal with that witch that's running Mexico.
Hear me out.
Okay.
So we get with Canada, Mexico, right? And then any Central American country that we have direct dealings with that accepts money from us, which is the majority of them. And we get with them, and the I don't want to say burden, the people that are seeking asylum, right, should be spread out. I don't care if it's lottery system or how we want to decide it or who takes how much of the, but it should be spread out, right? If we're going to be this egalitarian socialist, everyone deserves this chance, then they should be spread out again on these free countries, right, that have these asylums. So maybe Panama takes their share, Mexico takes their share, Canada takes their share, and then let's see how quick everyone is. Because if we're the only bad guys because we're stopping them at the border, let's see if these other countries will take them as well. Every country, do your part. Well, yeah, no problem. Let's come up with the program, and every country gets their fair share, and then they go into your countries on your social safety nets, and they take out of your economy, and they do these things. Maybe some criminals do slip through. Let's see how Canada likes having some M13 members. You know what I mean? And shit, that's all there is in Mexico, so they won't even notice the difference, right? But let's see what happens. I guarantee we are told instantly to go pound sand. Canada's not going to be interested in that shit. Mexico is going to be like, no thanks, pass on through. But Mexico probably gives them food and water. Like, the races where the guys have the signs on them and they run past the water tents? I imagine that's what everyone from those parts. Mexico just has a line. Probably, where they have little rest stops and everything all the way up to America. And they're like, there you go. Now get the hell out of our country. Go up there. Here's Brownsville. Just walk right on through. You're fine. Right? So, these countries, they're not open arms, but somehow America's the shit bag. Because we're like, whoa, we don't even know who's coming in. Let's settle this down.
And a big part of the thing causing the problem, it's our country's policies. Mm-hmm. it's our not having control of that border that makes it advantageous for these cartels to do to traffic humans into America and to traffic drugs into America.
Exactly. No, I'm with you on this, dude. Obviously, I'm speaking tongue in cheek on all of that, right? These countries aren't going to do that, and I don't believe in. I wouldn't even support it if we did.
And I'll say this: listen, I would not oppose us going and taking on and destroying these satanic cartels.
No, 100%. I'm with you, dude.
Hey. Listen, as long as innocent blood wasn't spilled, I'd be fine. I'd be fine with us rooting out those cartels. Us going down there to Mexico and rooting out these cartels and then going home.
Yeah, it would be a better, like I said, it would be a better to spend our resources there.
Yeah, than in the Ukraine or in Taiwan or whatever.
Or all these little tiny secret wars we have going on in
Yemen,
Africa.
Sudan, Ethiopia, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man.
And Syria?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
No, I'm with you on that.
All right, well, I think that's a good place to stop.
No, I like this. That was I imagine over the next week we're gonna have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
Especially with Tucker. I'm excited to follow that. We're gonna see what happens because that ends tomorrow.
Yep.
No, the
Title 42.
Title 42 ends tomorrow. I mean, yeah, so I think we should definitely follow up on both those next week and see where we're at, see if our predictions come true and what happens.
All right, yeah, let's do it. And happy Mother's Day to all the moms and future moms out there.
Mom, happy Mother's Day. Love you.
Mom, happy Mother's Day.
And all you guys have a good day. Shane, good podcast.
And my mom is better than your mom is.
Wow, that's aggressive. Because I think both our moms are amazing.
And mine's a little bit better.
I see, and I love both our moms. I call them both mom, but he is a piece of shit.
You know what?
I'm going to send this to my mom.
Listen, I love them both equally.
No, that's not what you said, though. All right, guys.
All right,
you have a good one.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.